It's late. I have missed the light, but I need to film this video today, so we're using my mood lighting. This is my very first YouTube video. Please be kind. I will get better. My name's Emma, and I'm going to talk about books. Today's book, our first book, our inceptionary book, is An Ordinary Violence by Adriana or Adriana Chartrand. It was published in 2023. Its genre is adult horror, subgenre being psychological or supernatural horror. You have to read it to find out. And there are a few things that led to me reading this book that I'd actually like to talk about before I talk about the book itself. I have clacky rings on, sorry. The first thing is I saw a video of a performance of Come and Get Your Love by the band Redbone, and I was like, they're Native American. I had no idea. Did you know until this moment? They're Native American. How cool is that? I had no clue. And I know you might be thinking, like, what the heck does that have to do with anything? And I will tell you. I will tell you. The second thing that led to me reading this book is I stumbled upon an account called Indigenous Reading Circle, and they put together a native horror book club for all of 2025, and I love it when book clubs choose all of their books for the entire year ahead of time. And this, An Ordinary Violence, was January's. But the third thing that sort of ties this together is I follow a style content creator named Janine Jacob, and she is wonderful. I love her content, but she talks about not just style, or rather, she talks about how style itself is more than just style. And she had this very specific video called Who is Indigenous? On my Instagram, Emma Mars Reads. I'll put it somewhere so you can find it. I'm going to post the Redbone, the Indigenous Reading Circle, and this video by Janine in my 2025 Reads highlight reel. So if you want to watch these for yourself, you totally can. But in her Who is Indigenous video, she talks about some things that like really just like hit so close to home, being a partially Indigenous, very white presenting human myself that is very disconnected from that part of my cultural heritage and has always like wanted connection, but has not had a guide and not really known how to do that looking the way that I look. And so anyways, that along with things happening in the world right now, wanting to connect, wanting to learn, wanting to support, I thought that I would start by reading some of these native horror book club reads. So I researched the first couple and I decided to read An Ordinary Violence, which is how I came to read it. So officially, I recommend it. I really liked it. It was a banger of a first book, first choice, opening strong. I recommend you read it, but I have a secondary recommendation that's like a little far out. And that is, I recommend that you read it without reading the back blurb first. And I know, it's like, how are you going to know if it's something that sounds interesting if you can't read the back blurb? I slightly modified the back blurb, and I'm going to read my slightly modified version for you so you can like kind of get a taste. The reason why I don't recommend reading the original back blurb is because have you ever watched a trailer for a movie and you were like, wow, that was such a good trailer, I really want to see that film, and then you go and you watch the movie and the whole time you're like, this is not the movie that the trailer led me to believe it was going to be. And then when it's over, you're like, I liked it. I liked the movie. But I was excited to watch the movie that the trailer led me to believe it was going to be. And so I'm a little disappointed that I didn't see that movie, but it was a really good movie. It just wasn't the movie I was expecting. The back blurb is like that, in my opinion, specifically in this regard. Sometimes when you read a spooky book, let's say it's zombies or a psycho killer or even like a ghost of some kind, usually it's pretty straightforward. Like, initially there's the shock of like, oh, what's happening? But then it's pretty straightforward as like, there's a real spooky thing. We need to learn more about it so that we can defeat it and live happily ever after, right? And then there are psychological horror books or like metaphorical psychological horror books where it's just like a big metaphor for trauma. And sometimes that's like artsy and there maybe is no boogeyman at all. It just is metaphor. But in psychological horror books, oftentimes you're like, are they insane? Is this a book about madness? Is there a legitimate spooky man? Like, boogeyman? Like, what? Spooky man? Like, what's actually happening here? And this book is written, the book is written like that. It's written like you don't know what's happening. But the back of the book makes it seem like it's going to be straightforward, but it's not. So if you read the back of the book, you're going to think it's a straightforward book, but it's not a straightforward book, and it sort of messes with the experience, right? So this is my back blurb to like hook ya, to I don't know. You decide if you want to read it, but this is what I've got for you so you can make a decision. The first part of it is unaltered. I will say when we're deviating. Terrible things happen side by side with the ordinary. Dawn hasn't spoken to her brother Cody since he was sent to prison for a violent crime 7 years ago. But when Dawn's seemingly perfect life in the big city implodes, she's forced to return to her childhood home and the prairie city that still holds so much pain for her and her fractured family. This is where we deviate. When Cody is released from prison with a mysterious new friend by his side, Dawn must follow increasingly sinister leads to understand why spooky shit seems to keep happening to her and how it might be connected to her brother and his unsettling friend. That's my back blurb for you. The whole time I was reading it, I was like, this would make an excellent movie. This would make an excellent movie. You know who could produce this movie and it would fit right in with their other movies? It's A24. And then I got to the author blurb, and it turns out that the author went to school, Adriana, she went to school for film and then works in film. And I was like, oh, well, okay, that tracks. That makes sense. So, Adriana, A24, maybe have like coffee, maybe chat, maybe, up to you. But that was pretty cool. So, edited back blurb, knowing it would fit in A24's collection. Those are my read it if you want vibes. Oh, last thing. I have an excerpt here that I wrote down. It doesn't give away any spooky vibes. It's just a gorgeous example of the author's very insightful writing. And it was a piece of the book that just like, hit. So, I'm going to read that to you for funsies. The main character's name's Dawn. Dawn's mother is Crystal. Or, pardon me. Oh my gosh, I'm confusing you. Main character is Dawn. Her friend is Crystal. Dawn's mom is Violet. Violet, Dawn, Crystal. Okay, here we go. Violet makes piles of dresses for Dawn, who rarely consents to wear them. But she's wearing one today because there was a stain on the pink dress from the mall that she'd wanted to wear. Crystal had grown over the summer, making her jean shorts pinch her thighs and her favorite pink t-shirt right up. The girls are becoming aware of their bodies being observed and judged by others, and it makes them feel so profoundly awkward and ashamed that it's like they're wearing their own skins wrong. It's a strange, distancing feeling that they don't talk about, couldn't possibly articulate, but they both feel it. The first stirrings of a discomfort that will persist, tracking them through adolescence and long into adulthood. On that note, let me know if you've read it. Let me know if you read it. Let me know if you liked it. Let me know if you like it. I'm always curious. I hope you're reading things you enjoy. I have more books to talk about. The videos will get better. Y'all have excellent days, nights, whatever time it is that you're reading this.